Trigger warning. This video includes brief descriptions and scenes of violent behavior, as well as a brief description of SA. For those who are sensitive to these topics, feel free to click away at any time. In this video, I will be providing information about a self-described healing evangelist, revivalist, and author that originally hails from British Columbia. Bentley was the founder of a church called Fresh Fire USA, which later became known by its current name, Revival Harvest Ministries. Between 2004 and 2013, Todd Bentley has written 4 books, and he has also been the subject of 3 documentaries, including one in 2010 called Lakeland, The Salvation of Todd Bentley in 2015, and From Death in 2017. He's currently active on social media, where he's drawn much criticism, especially among evangelicals for his healing methods and for other reasons which I will be discussing in due course.
Lord, it was in the glory. And there's nothing wrong, you know, she's a beautiful gift as it is. But I've seen the Lord touch this and a miracle happen. This guy was a grown man in his 30s, by the way, that had Down syndrome. He never could communicate with people. He couldn't speak. He had it so bad he couldn't get the words out. And then he was talking to me so normal, I didn't believe he had Down syndrome. I had to call all his relatives and people in the city and because I was like, I need other people to prove this guy, because he was so miraculously healed in the glory. The brain changed, the wiring changed, right? And the ovarian problem, God, I've been given words of knowledge for a few days about God healing ovarian cysts. Bam! We command that to flow right there. You're already under it.
As a drug-addicted teenager in British Columbia, Bentley was breaking into cars and stealing things. He was ultimately arrested for performing SA on a minor when he himself was still a teenager. According to a Vancouver Sun article, Bentley describes finally breaking his addiction in his late teens without any sort of cravings or withdrawal symptoms whatsoever. In 1998, the Fresh Fire Ministry Group asked Bentley to give testimony at one of their weekly meetings. He gave his testimony and soon afterward took over the leadership of the group and began his ministry in earnest. After he started his ministry, Bentley did admit to the illegal activities he committed as a teenager. He describes being involved in an SA ring where he basically did to someone else what had pretty much been done to him. In 2008, Bentley gained international attention after holding a series of meetings in Lakeland, Florida, which were later collectively known as the Lakeland Outpouring. Up to 10,000 people a day showed up at these gatherings, according to some estimates. Bentley's faith healing methods and claims about meeting Jesus, angels, and even the Apostle Paul came under heavy scrutiny by conservative radio hosts and pastors alike. Bentley nonetheless persisted in leading the Lakeland Outpouring until his separation from his first wife Shona was announced, and an episode of Nightline aired which heavily scrutinized the claims that Bentley had made about healing the sick. Shona quickly moved herself and her children back to Canada. Bentley, meanwhile, attempted to go on a revival tour in other U.S. locations, but the tour fizzled out for lack of interest, and Bentley went on hiatus soon afterwards. The Fresh Fire website stated at the time that the intense spiritual awakening started by Bentley in Florida created, quote, pressures and burdens which helped to create an atmosphere of fatigue and stress that has exacerbated existing issues in the Bentley's relationship. We want to affirm that there has been no sexual immorality on the part of either Todd or Shona, end quote. Later, the board of Fresh Fire Ministries publicly stated that Bentley had confessed to an inappropriate relationship with a female staff member, Jessa, who later became his wife. A senior board member also told the magazine that Bentley's alcohol consumption had become too much of a problem. In October of 2008, Bentley moved to Morningstar Ministries campus in Fort Mill, South Carolina, to begin his restoration process under founder Rick Joyner. Joyner stated publicly that he hoped Bentley would one day return to ministry if he faces his problems squarely. Joyner further stated that both Bentley and the female staff member, later identified as Jessa, had expressed remorse over their behavior, adding that they were, quote, two wounded people who fell into a trap. After the Lakeland revival, stories and videos surfaced online of Bentley kicking an elderly woman in the face and kneeing a man in the gut. Bentley insisted his methods were commanded by the Holy Spirit. Bentley also claimed to have, quote, choked a man to life, end quote, and, quote, banged a woman's legs up and down on the platform like a baseball bat, end quote. Despite his reputation for physicality, Bentley claims that in the 17 years of preaching, no one has ever been injured at his meetings. As previously stated, Nightline investigated Bentley's claims of healing during the time of the Lakeland outpouring to see if any of his claims could be substantiated. Bentley's ministry provided a binder full of so-called miracles, which included incomplete contact information and a few pages of incomplete medical records as well. ABC's investigators concluded not a single claim could be independently verified. In 2012, Bentley was barred from entering the UK over concerns that his methods were too violent. As the controversial videos spread, British Labour MP Malcolm Wicks successfully helped petition the British government to keep Bentley out of the country prior to a series of gatherings scheduled for England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. About Bentley, Wicks stated, quote, his visit can do nothing but harm, end quote. On Freshfire USA's Facebook page, Bentley wrote, quote, they have no legal basis for their accusation. I did all their visa process and fingerprinting and security. This decision was made before any of my application was processed. It is based on internet, media, and false perception they have not followed up on. I think this is big news. USA Immigration saw fit to receive me into the country. The UK government never asked our side of the story or gave any process for discussion. Disappointing, but God wins. According to a statement from Pulpit and Pen, Todd Bentley also made claims of raising a 10-year-old boy from the dead at an event in Pakistan in 2015. Later that same year, according to a Christian Post article, Bentley stated that he had not raised just one person, but 3 people from the dead, the 10-year-old boy and also 2 others. These so-called resurrections took place at the YMCA grounds in Karachi. A video was posted on YouTube by Bentley's ministry, supposedly showing a man from this event being brought back from the dead. I have taken the time to watch this video in full multiple times, and I don't think the man was actually dead. If you look closely, you can see the man's kind of moving his face and arms slightly as the people around him are pushing his chest and shaking him. And they're not even like fully doing CPR either. I think it's much more likely the man had just simply fainted and the people around him were just acting like he was deceased. In 2019, Stephen Powell, a revivalist at Lion of Light Ministries in Pineville, North Carolina, and one of Bentley's own former proteges, accused him of sexual perversion involving both male and female interns. Powell also stated that Bentley's actions were enabled and covered up by his current wife, Jessa, as well as a number of Christian leaders, including Rick Joyner himself. Powell further stated he had been aware of Bentley's misconduct for years, but much of the evidence supporting his current allegations had only come to light during the summer of 2019. One story that Powell cited was from a male intern who stated Bentley had offered to pay him $1,000 to perform oral on him. The intern admitted he was struggling to get by at the time. He was living with his sister, and all of his money was pretty much going to pay his bills. Bentley had been paying for various things on the intern's behalf, and the intern had begun to view Bentley as a mentor. Powell also further alleged that Joyner refused to help the young male intern. In addition to the man from 2013, other men and women have come forward with their accusations. One young male intern alleged that Bentley had offered to pay him $500 for a video of the male intern diddling himself. Another male intern from 2018 claimed that he and Bentley had smoked weed together, and Bentley had offered to have sex with the male intern. Yet another male intern claimed Bentley and his wife had frequently sent him explicit videos and photos. Female interns that worked under Bentley didn't fare much better. Powell alleged that Bentley, quote, made out with his young female assistant whom he was not married to, walked into a room, closed the door, and stayed there for at least 30 minutes, with Jessa being in the same house and knowing about it, end quote. A young single online student of Bentley's also provided screenshots of Todd asking her on multiple occasions to, quote, send him pictures of herself, end quote, asking her what she was wearing on multiple occasions, and also asking for long hugs when they met, and numerous other inappropriate suggestions. Powell further stated that Bentley had proven to be a compulsive liar, lacked financial integrity when handling God's money, and was a substance abuser that roped in other people to do the same thing. According to Powell, some of the witnesses he talked to at the beginning of the investigation had withdrawn their testimony because they had been threatened by people involved in a network of sin and cover-ups. Powell further claimed to have come across at least one witness who was paid off and made to sign a legal gag order to keep silent. Additionally, Powell also claimed to have been personally threatened with a lawsuit and violence if he revealed his findings. In the hopes of staging an intervention for Bentley, Powell had reached out to Rick Joyner. Joyner later stated via Facebook Live broadcast that he no longer had any authority over Bentley. He further explained that after he completed oversight of Bentley's restoration in 2012, stemming from the 2008 scandal, Bentley had been charting his own path. While Joyner acknowledged being aware of the new accusations against Bentley, Joyner accused Powell of, quote, operating in a spirit of witchcraft, end quote, for coming forward with allegations against Bentley, and further insinuated he was being threatened by Powell. Bentley himself has denied most of the allegations against him, calling them, quote, gossip, speculation, and hearsay, and without any evidence, end quote. In early December of 2019, Bentley said in a video on his Facebook page that he had left ministry to focus on his new beard care company called Magnificent Man Company. Not even kidding. Bentley compared himself to Mary the prostitute and said God had shown him grace despite his flaws, and that the same forgiveness is offered to church people who struggle. However, less than a month later, Bentley announced on social media his intentions to start a new school of ministry. In early January of 2020, a group of ministers that were part of the charismatic movement declared Bentley unqualified to serve in leadership or ministry based on numerous first-hand accounts dating all the way back to 2004. A more complete statement from them reads as follows, quote, there are credible accusations of a steady pattern of ungodly and immoral behavior, confirmed by independent investigators' interviews dating from 2008 up through 2019, along with other testimonies dating back to 2004. And while we only took into account first-hand reports, there are many other second- and third-hand reports repeating the same accusations, often from people in different parts of the country or world who had no connection between them other than their interaction with Todd, end quote. Despite this declaration, Bentley has continued to pursue his ministry. In early 2021, Bentley claimed he was experiencing a time of healing and restoration with the angels and with God. He claimed God gave him a fresh 25-year mandate that was, quote, focused on the harvest and the nations, end quote. Bentley said he would be working on a new podcast series, as well as building a new platform for TV and media, and also taking a few ministry engagements as well. Bentley also claimed to be working on a new series of online trading schools and several upcoming revival missions. Despite all the controversy, Bentley continues to lead Revival Harvest Ministries and remains active on social media. In April of this year, Bentley returned to Lakeland, Florida to preach at a Hilton Garden Inn for several days. I have not yet been able to find any official numbers for how many people attended this year's Lakeland, Florida event. However, based on the videos provided by the ministry's own website, the audience shown appeared to be noticeably less in number than the Great Lakeland Outpouring of 2008. While I believe Bentley is capable of channeling energy on some level, I mean, you should see how he works a crowd when he is in front of one, I believe his claims about being able to heal people by God working through him are exaggerated at best. I believe his claims about bringing people back from the dead are completely false, and he really should stop, but he probably isn't going to. One article I read suggested that Bentley's violent behavior during his healing sessions were staged or at least exaggerated for theatrical effect. On the one hand, I want to believe that. On the other hand, it's a little hard to square that idea with videos like this one. To the best of my knowledge, at the time of this video's release, there appear to be no lawsuits against Todd Bentley or against Revival Harvest Ministries. Nevertheless, it is troubling to think that Todd Bentley, a man who placed himself in the position of serving as a link between his followers and God, and who has such a wide reach on social media, can use his positions to take advantage of his employees and his followers. Many of the people that he employed during the first Lakeland event believed in his message so much that they rearranged their whole lives to follow him and his ministry. They practically made him the center of their world for a time, and this is what he allegedly did. Although it appears the majority of his original followers may have turned away from him, it's still troubling and sickening to see people being used and misled. People like this guy and plenty of others worse than him need to be called out for their bad behavior, and people in general need to be armed with information to protect themselves. For anyone who's still watching, I thank you so much. I hope you found this video informative. If you want to see more videos like this, please like, share, and subscribe if you want to. Goodbye for now.